Hello and welcome to Campaign Chronicles, our daily update on the race for the French presidency. Today, I'm joined by Eleanor Beardsley from US National Public Radio. Hello, thanks for coming in. And our press reviewer, Elena Casas. Hello again, Elena. Starting off with you, Elena, the big politics story today, of course, is this expected announcement by Nicolas Sarkozy. We've just heard from the UMP ruling party that the president will be making his first campaign stop on Thursday. So that should mean we'll hear he's officially running tomorrow, perhaps?
The announcement is tomorrow night, at least, according to the papers. Le Figaro and Le Parisien both reporting today that he'll be appearing in the 8 o'clock evening news programme, either on TF1 or on France 2, one of France's biggest channels, tomorrow evening, to make that big announcement. Although it wouldn't be the first time that they'd announced it's going to happen, and it didn't. Le Figaro said it was happening at the weekend, so the president's still trying to retain an element of surprise there by delaying this announcement.
He's kept us guessing for a pretty long time now.
He's kept us guessing, although we know, of course, that he will be standing for re-election. Some of the journalists following this campaign, some of the papers getting slightly fed up with the wait they seem to be. Libération in today's paper say that he should try announcing it by launching a folk duo with Carla Bruni and announcing it in song, or going to Disneyland and announcing it there, because everyone likes that. Everyone likes Disney, even during the crisis. You can see they're all starting to get a little bit fed up. And if I can bring you in here, Eleanor Beardsley, what's the strategy here behind this? Why are we being made to wait so long for the announcement?
Well, it was obvious that, Sarkozy is a very unpopular president, so he was trying to use his position as crisis manager of this, huge European debt crisis, use that platform for as long as he could, because he did, he was the big man on the world stage, or at least the European stage, with Angela Merkel, the duo Merkozy, fixing all the problems, and he did look too busy to even think about campaigning. Of course, we all knew that he was, he wants another crack at the job, and so now I think he's waited just a little bit too long. It has become a bit of a joke, and even the socialists accusing him of using, presidential funds, of cheating, of freeloading on the system. So, okay, obviously he wanted to wait for as long as possible, but I think he's waited a little bit too long. It's funny now.
Because there are just 10 weeks to go now before the election. That's not very much at all. And I imagine from a US perspective, that's actually quite absurd.
Yeah, I actually did a story this weekend. I said, the French campaign is heated up. It's in full gear, well, sort of, because one of the candidates hasn't even said if he's running yet. We can't even imagine something like this in America. I mean, you have to campaign for at least a year. And, I know that this has happened before. François Mitterrand apparently announced very shortly before, but that was in the 80s. This is now, the 24-hour news cycle age. So that's another reason why it's so fascinating for Americans, is it's so different from our system.
And he's running about 10 points behind, according to some of the latest opinion polls. Do you think it's too late to turn things around?
People say never count him out. He's a very scrappy campaigner. He has brilliant speeches. I mean, he can speak. I mean, he reminds me of like when Bill Clinton was at his best. He's very brilliant. I'm always telling people in America this because we don't hear him, in his native language. I'm like, he's very good. So don't count him out, but I still don't see how he can catch up at this point.
The latest developments in the 24-hour news cycle seem to be playing against him, though. Last night, Moody's announced they're putting France's credit rating on negative outlook. He, of course, for a long time really campaigned on his ability to keep France's AAA credit rating, on being the best custodian of the economy. So is this just another thorn in his side?
Sort of, but not really. This is a thorn in France's side, the whole country, because let's face it, even if Sarkozy did not keep the AAA, would the socialists have done any better? I mean, until just a couple weeks ago, they were saying we're going to create, 60,000 new teacher jobs, put the retirement back down to 60. So I think the French people know that, okay, Sarkozy may have lost the AAA, but the socialists would not have kept it. And so, I think that the socialists cannot really come down on him too hard on that. It's not good, but it's not good for the country. I think it's the same, it's Europe-wide, so I think the French see that.
So you've got the UMP, that's the ruling party. You've got the socialist candidate, François Hollande. In third position, according to the polls, is Marine Le Pen from the National Front. What do you make of Nicolas Sarkozy and his party seemingly trying to get votes from her?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they figured that's the only way to go. Speaking to analysts here in France, that's the only way, because the French don't trust Sarkozy with the economy, which sort of amazes me to come back again. So they trust the socialists more than Sarkozy. So what is this whole crisis about? We see how, countries are borrowing too much, and the socialists don't seem to have a big plan for changing that. Cuts have got to be made. I mean, so obviously, Sarkozy has lost on the economic front, which I still find baffling. And yes, he's forced now to go on this right-wing bent, this tack to the right, which I think is a shame, because from my perspective, from an American perspective, Sarkozy would just be a middle-of-the-road Democrat. He's not right-wing for Americans. I mean, the French, I think, are so far left that they think he's far right. I'm always telling French people, this guy would be a regular Democrat in America, and he's having to court the real far right, which I think is a shame, because I think he was very strong on. I think Sarkozy was doing the right things for France, but people didn't want to reform. So, yeah, now will that work? It makes him look a little bit scary to court the far right like that, but apparently they've decided that's the only thing that could work, since the French don't trust him on the economy.
We've heard rumours, haven't we, that the UMP is actually hoping that Marine Le Pen isn't able to stand. Of course, we've been hearing a lot about that she might not even get on the ballot paper because she hasn't got those signatures. Do you think that's what they're really thinking?
You know, I think that would be kind of bizarre, since she's in third place, that she wouldn't even be eligible to run. You know, I'm sort of torn, because yesterday, the middle-of-the-road candidate, François Bayrou, said, you know, we should help her get on the ballot, and then everyone says, no, 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 she has to follow the rules.
For the sake of democracy.
Right, for the sake of democracy, because imagine the woman with the third most votes behind Sarkozy, Hollande, Sarkozy, and now Marine Le Pen, she can't even run because she doesn't have 500 signatures of mayors. So I don't know, it is kind of a strange thought. I don't really know what to think about that.
So let's assume she does get on the ballot paper. What would your prediction be then, perhaps, for the first round?
Well, I think there is a chance that she could beat Sarkozy, it seems. I mean, I've been out interviewing people, and a lot of people who voted for Sarkozy last time, they say he didn't come through on his promises, and so they're going to vote for her. It would not shock me to see a François Hollande socialist runoff with Marine Le Pen from the far right. It wouldn't shock me, and I know this is a worst-case scenario for Sarkozy's people, but it could happen, but probably not, but it could.
Okay, Eleanor Beardsley from US National Public Radio, thank you very much for coming in. Thanks, Elena. And of course, we were talking about the French president. We were talking about US politics there. I got a bit confused. French president expected to announce tomorrow that he will be running for a second term. We will, of course, bring you up to date on that as soon as we get it. Thanks very much for watching France 24. Do stay tuned. All the latest headlines coming up in just a few minutes.